Well, hello everybody. This is Paul Pease, aka Psycho's Platters. Thought I'd go off and I would attempt to answer some questions to the contest that has been presented by Spektrum. I have to apologize to Noise and everybody in the VC. Normally I get a lot of warnings when you guys are doing contests, so I have time to figure things out. This is one of those ones, unfortunately, is so on the fly. Today's the last day for the contest. I didn't find out about this until yesterday around noon. So you know what? I went and slapdashed some stuff together that still I like, that I wanted to share into the contest as well. But I thought I'd throw a couple albums out. So basically, I think I'm going to be answering probably 2 of these questions. Yes. The first one here okay, let's go quickly with what the heck Spektrum wanted. Which, by the way, I like that video with the Sesame Street 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Yeah, I can't sing, but I had that stuck in my head for the rest of the day. Thanks a bunch. I think I still have it. Okay. So basically, though, Noise gave 4 options. He went off and he's like, number 1, show 2 this one was slightly unclear, so I'm not entirely sure. It said, show 2 underappreciated or obscure live albums. Is it underappreciated live albums? Or was it, hey, can you show 2 underappreciated albums or obscure live albums? But that's all right. Number 2, show 2 favorite record labels. Number 3, show 2 great second albums from any 2 artists. Number 4, show any release with the word 2 in the title. And if you answer all 4 of them, you get an extra entry. Well, you know what? I tried to be gutsy with what little time I did have, because I had to work yesterday, and I got to work later today, so it was called crunch time. A couple of these, yeah, I know, I'm going to give you verbal answers, but some of them I'm going to show you. Right off the bat, you said show 2 underappreciated or obscure live albums. Well, I decided to go with the live album bit. And I know one of them you're probably going to say, well, wait a minute, this isn't exactly an underappreciated album, but kind of in a way it is. And what I'm talking about? The Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl. I know some of you people out there are probably going to groan on that, even though you're Beatles fans, you know, like me. But let's face it, this came out in 1977, alright? This is the only official live document, I stress the word official, that ever came out barely with the permission of all the Beatles. This, of course, fell out of print. I can't remember when. I want to say it was in the 80s. This thing did not last very long. It was recorded, of course, over 2 concerts, 64 and 65, if I remember correctly, for Hollywood Bowl. Here's the front, here's the back. You know, this is the only thing, like I said, legitimate we got. Now, I've got a Budokan bootleg. I have a Shea bootleg. What they really need to do over at Capitol is either clean this up or go off and give us multiple sources, like the best tunes quality-wise from the shows that they've got. Okay? Then maybe we could get ourselves a superior live album, even if it is from a bunch of different concert dates. Okay? So, like I said, this to me, I'm sorry, is still underappreciated only because basic historical value. For the record being put out itself and not being released on CD or anything else like that. Now, I would have gone off for my second answer and done Monkees Live 67 because I actually liked that album because that was during their heyday. I'm waiting, of course, for a legitimate recording of the October 1968 Osaka, Japan shows. If you haven't heard those shows and you're a Monkees fan, go on YouTube and type it up. You'll enjoy it. It was originally recorded for TV broadcast. The TV tapes disappeared, but the audio still exists. But since we don't have either of those, I thought I'd pull out a good Papa Nez. I do actually have a unsealed copy of this, but this is from the 1979 Live at the Palais. This is down in Australia. He did this. I mean, you got some really cool stuff here. You know, Calico Girlfriend, Propiniquity, Joanne. I've always loved Joanne. Roll with the Flow, some of Shelley's Blues, Silver Moon. Those are like my favorites off of here. This is the front, this is the back. And if I remember correctly, this is also the last thing I think he put out on Pacific Arts. Because I don't remember if the Time Rider soundtrack came out on Pacific Arts. I want to say this was it. I'm not entirely sure. So those two things are my two underappreciated live albums. Now, I do have one more I want to show visual here, but let me get to number 2. It said, show 2 of your favorite record labels. Now, I apologize. I can't get into everything in my record collection, so I'm just going to verbally tell you, out of all honesty. It's really tough to break down favorite record labels, but I think we'll go with consistency, all right, as opposed to popularity. I have always been a Vertigo and Charisma man, and those things are hard to find. I have a handful of Vertigo and Charisma. For Vertigo, I've got Original Sabbath. I've got a I think Jade Warrior. I have a Jade Warrior on Vertigo, which I'm proud of. And as far as for Charisma is concerned, of course, I've got a couple old school Genesis albums. And I have an original, somebody told me this thing's worth money, but I cannot find it in the books or anything. I have an original first album of Capability Brown, which I picked up several years ago at a Goodwill in Central Arkansas, along with a bunch of other prog-like bands. I'm like, what the heck? So that's my verbal for number 2. So Vertigo and Charisma are my two favorite record labels. After that, I probably would tell you, out of all honesty, Uni. For honorable mention, Uni, from about 1967 to 72. So much eclectic stuff. You almost can't go wrong on getting anything from Uni in that time period. And I also would say the same things for Decca and RCA. Those two, in those 5 years, maybe even to 73, were pretty golden. You could come up with all kinds of weird nuggets there. So that's my verbal answer for number 2. Number 3, you asked for show 2 great second albums from any artist. Let's go with the first one here. And I know maybe some of you people are going to go, what? Yeah, the second one from Ramatam. I pulled this up and I listened to it recently. In April came the dawning of the Red Suns from 1973. Ramatam, I have the first album. The first album is better. I'm not going to lie. This is a gatefold. But the story on Ramatam, really quick, was the basic gist of it was April Lawton, okay, who was a complete unknown, and was able to communicate with Mike Panera, of course, from Iron Butterfly, from Blues Image, and Mitch Mitchell from Jimi Hendrix. And she managed to get those two, along with a couple other people, in the band. And the first Ramatam is really, really good. If you've never heard that, get it. That one's from 72, if I remember correctly. You won't go wrong. But you know what? This one here is not that bad either, out of all honesty. But Jimmy Walker's on here, if I remember correctly. I think it's the same Jimmy Walker from the Knickerbockers and from the Righteous Brothers that he replaced. But I'm not entirely sure about that second part. But still, you know, I mean, this is a really cool album. But what happened is that due to April getting a bigger ego, she thought it should have been the April Lawton Band. That's the reason why Mike Panera and Mitch Mitchell left. But I thought I heard little whispers that one or two of the tracks may contain a little bit of their work. I tried looking that up on there, but on a couple sites. But I mean, it's suspected, but it's not given. I think it was more Mitch's work than Panera, because I think Panera left first. So that's the first one for Ramatam here. The second one, I had, because I'm from the Chicago area, I had to represent. There's plenty of kick-ass second albums from Chicago bands. If I could have gotten to it, this was a two-way tie in my eyes. Shadows of Night, Backdoor Man is an excellent album, but this one is also, in my eyes, an excellent album. New Colony 6, Colonization, yeah, from 1967. I actually love this album. This is the front, this is the back. Now, this one here, this second album, Ronnie Rice comes into the band, alright? Met him, really nice guy. I went and bought some of his, a CD of his pre-New Colony and post-New Colony works. Pretty decent. Pretty decent. It's called Refried Rice. If you can find a copy, snag it. It's really cool. But this one here for New Colony 6, I mean, we're talking lots of classics. Love You So Much. I love that song. It's under 2 minutes. It's probably one of the quickest favorite songs I've ever had. Let Me Love You. That's got a bunch of fuzz on that one. I like that. Elf Song is another cool one, which is otherwise known as Ballad of the Wingbat Marmaduke. I'm sorry, I like that one. They actually put that out as a single, and it didn't do so well, but it should have, just because of its quirkiness. I'm just waiting and anticipating for her to show up. That one was actually written by Tony Orlando. You're Gonna Be Mine. I love that one too. And lastly, a really killer version of Mr. You're a Better Man Than I, which in the mid-'60s, I think a lot of different people covered that. Let's see, I'm trying to think. I want to say, didn't Stones and Yardbirds and I thought Manfred Mann, and Terry Knight and the Pack, which was like Half a Grand Funk. You know, everybody seemed to put that song out there. Well, like I said, I like this one, but I want to show you something really, really quick, okay? This is in a stereo jacket. I just discovered this because on the back here it says stereo, but guess what? I have a mono copy, and can somebody help me out here? This is a white label. Is it a promo, or was the Centaur put in white label for LP? It took me many years to get this copy, and I've never seen another copy since. So maybe somebody can help me out in the vinyl community in regards to that. And then lastly, the fourth one was the one that was the trip up for me. It says here, show any release with the word 2 in the title. Once again, I got to apologize. This one's going to be a half-ass answer. The only one that I could find, and I know I've got it in my collection, is the 1977-78 Kansas album, 2 for the Show. There's probably more, but that's the only thing that came up to me in the top of my head, was that one. And like I said, you didn't want it to be just like Volume 2, something 2. That's the only one I could think I could find was 2 for the Show from Kansas, which that's a really good live album. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, it documents a time where they were really up there in their creative apex, I think. Alright, well, I hope, like I said, I hope that kind of helps out a little bit, Noise Spektrum. And you know what? Congrats for being on here for 2 years in the VC, alright? I've been here 3.5, going on 4 almost, and it's just fun. This is a fun little group. So you know what? Let's see. If this is the first time that you've seen my videos, please also not only subscribe to Noise Spektrum, but to subscribe to Psycho's Platters too, and watch, enjoy, like, and subscribe all the videos that I do. I try to educate and entertain. So Noise Spektrum, thank you very much. Take care, God bless, and rock on, VC.